I think there is anti-dollar hype right now. I think there is a lot of emotion and a lot of excitement about the possibility for it. So I'm not going to downplay the number of headlines, the excitement with which they're made, and the desire. There is great desire for this to happen. I think the likelihood of it paying off or playing out is, at least to the extent that many are people just accepting as a given, it is extremely unlikely. And all of these programs that these headlines are talking about, at this point, they are plans, right? And if you read the articles carefully, they will often say something like, we have entered into an agreement to start discussions about a potential plan that could one day be implemented. So none of these headlines say it's going to happen right now. You have to pay attention to them with that big of a portion of the world's economy makes announcements. To just ignore it would be stupid. So I don't ignore it, but I also just don't take everything as complete fact, because these announcements have been around for a long time. This problem that's being dealt with by the rest of the world, this de-dollarization problem, is an extremely complicated one. And it's extremely complicated for a number of reasons. And I understand all the reasons they would love to get out from underneath this system, but it's just much easier to say than do. And if all it took was anger and frustration to de-dollarize, the world would have been de-dollarized decades ago. The problem here is that every time we have had some kind of a global slowdown, economic slowdown, or a global crisis over the last 25 years, you always see the US dollar spike in that scenario. So now if we're going through some kind of a great reset, or we're going into some kind of a conflict, or we're going into some kind of a de-globalization, that is probably not going to be a smooth transition, even if everybody was getting along and trying to do it in a cooperating manner. I think even under the best circumstances, it would be volatile. But this will not be done under the best of circumstances. The world is no longer cooperating to the same extent it was. And the US, for better or worse, whether you think they should or shouldn't, will not just stand by and watch as its place in the world is degraded. And so I think they will push back, and that will lead to volatility. And so I think what's going to happen is we're going to get into a crisis, and I think the dollar is going to spike just like it always does. I don't think it's different this time. The whole point of me pounding the table on the dollar over the last 3 or 4 years is not to convince everybody that I'm right. It's to convince everybody not to bet everything that I'm wrong. Because if you bet everything that I'm wrong and things play out the way they always have, you're going to get crushed. And so, the reality is that's a big part of what I see a lot of bad takes on how this is going to play out. And it's not that they can't play out that way. It's just that the probability of them playing out that way is extremely low. But I've talked to too many investors over the years who they hear something like this. They say, oh my gosh, I have to get out of dollars. And they run and they put 70% of their portfolio in gold or uranium or some kind of hard asset or some kind of an anti-dollar play or anti-United States play. And rather than just, playing the probabilities, they go all in on it. And I really want to kind of help people understand why you shouldn't go all in against the United States and against the US dollar. Again, it's important to understand that fiat currency loses value over the time. It's important to understand that empires always fall at some point. But it's also important to understand that, inevitable is not the same thing as imminent, and going in on a low probability event is not the same thing as going in on a high probability event. And this gets a little philosophical, but in many ways, global reserve currencies are not about economics. They're really about power, and it's about an imposition of will. And whoever the biggest, baddest boy or girl on the block is typically enforces their will. Now you might not have to like that, but that's typically what history plays out as. And if you're going to do business with the biggest, baddest girl or boy on the block, you're probably going to have to use their currency or whatever they would like you to use.
Shame on the U.S. regulators. A statement that John Deaton said, and that's something the SEC has earned. Deaton believes that the SEC isn't remotely interested in protecting investors, especially at a time like now. And from where I stand, John Deaton has been right about this entire court case. He is and was at the forefront of the SEC versus Ripple case and now represents the XRP family. Honestly, if you ask me, I think the SEC had ulterior motives filing this case, and I believe they've already achieved it. So I'm crossing my fingers here and my toes and my eyes, but there's a likelihood that this court case will be over soon. As always, welcome to Money Side, your favorite crypto channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you get updates when we drop new videos. And don't forget to smash that like button, and you can always leave a comment or a question in that section below. Here's more on what John Deaton had to say about the U.S. regulators. Consider the following. In 2017, the SEC issued the DAO. Then, 2017 to 2019, there were 57 enforcement actions against crypto companies involving ICOs, KIK, Telegram, etc. In 2018, we got the Hinman speech. In 2019, the SEC issued its framework for digital assets. Now, Coinbase has just launched an international exchange. That could potentially shift some of the major players in the crypto world to the global market. Unfortunately, as of right now, the dollar is extremely under attack, and the future of this currency as the world reserve is now at stake. Granted, it could not be fruitful because hate alone will not bring the dollar down. But these uncertain times could potentially push most investors into the crypto world, and that's something to watch out for. Don't just brush it off like every other person. Who knows? This could be your one-time opportunity to go all in on crypto instead of going against the dollar. Crypto, despite its volatile nature, could be the only salvation we have during these desperate times. Internationally, Ripple is leading, especially when it comes to on-demand liquidity and cross-border payments. Here's an interesting tweet on the same. Week 18 FinTech News Updates. 1. Ripple, on-demand liquidity in India. The payments solution offers optimized liquidity for cross-border payments, including complex corridors like Brazil, Mexico, India, and Southeast Asia, using XRP as a neutral bridge for various fiat currency pairs. 2. Singapore Tourism Board signs 3-year deal with WeChat Pay. The partnership aims to promote the country as a priority destination for Chinese tourists by giving smarter and more convenient traveling experiences through expanding digital payment options. If this continues, we might soon see everyone jumping into the crypto world for answers. All I know is that for the dollar to continue with its fight against the other currencies, the country should potentially think about partnering up with crypto and more specifically XRP. Undoubtedly, the central banks of the world are starting to see the worth of XRP, and it's only a matter of time before they turn to this currency for salvation.
Gary, are you there?
Got the fire started against Gary Gensler? Well, that's the entire XRP army. Is they've discovered so many things that he's done that have been wrong. We already know we can't trust him. So now I want you to think about this, Austin. We have an entire space that has a lot of dodgy characters, and the number one person right now in charge of regulating and enforcing in this space, literally no one trusts him.
Please keep in mind, we're not a licensed financial advisor. All videos on this channel are intended for entertainment purposes only. Let us know what you think in the comment section below, and let's have a conversation. Thank you as always for watching. Don't forget to like this video. Please click on that subscribe button below and turn on notifications so you get informed when we drop new video. We'll look forward to seeing you on the next Money Side.